Emily stormed into the cafe, her hands shaking as she caught sight of Claire laughing across the table with Daniel. Her chest tightened. The betrayal was immediate, raw, and suffocating. Emily had trusted Claire with everything, and now it felt shattered. Daniel, her best friend, had been her anchor for years, yet here he was, oblivious to the storm in her eyes. Emily's mind raced, questioning every moment, every memory shared, wondering how it could all dissolve in seconds. She clenched her fists under the table, trying to steady herself while the world tilted unrecognizably. Anger burned like wildfire, yet beneath it, a cold, sharp clarity began to form. Emily realized this moment would not go unanswered. She would make Claire pay. But first, she had to survive the humiliation. Emily collapsed into the corner of her apartment, heart hammering. Betrayal clawed at her chest, suffocating yet sharpening her resolve. Every memory with Daniel now carried the sting of deceit, and she vowed she would not be the silent victim. Her mind raced through the cafe, replaying Claire's laughter, Daniel's oblivion, and the piercing realization that trust could be obliterated in a heartbeat. Anger fused with strategy as Emily considered her next steps. This wasn't just about hurt. It was about justice, about reclaiming what was taken. With each breath, her plan crystallized, a careful dance of patience and precision. The next morning, Emily met Marcus, her old mentor, at a quiet cafe. His calm presence contrasted her stormy thoughts. "You can't let anger rule you," he said, eyes sharp yet gentle. Emily nodded, listening, though her mind buzzed with possibilities. Marcus reminded her that vengeance required precision, not chaos. Every reaction had consequences. Every step could tip the balance between justice and ruin. His voice grounded her, but her resolve remained unwavering. She had been wronged, and no lesson in patience could erase that. Still, she would need guidance to turn rage into calculated action. Emily returned home and reviewed every detail she could remember from the cafe. Each gesture, each glance, each laugh became evidence in her mind. She replayed conversations, observed patterns, and noted weaknesses. Her apartment transformed into a strategic command center of sticky notes and photos. She understood she needed allies but could trust few. Daniel's oblivion fueled her strategy. He was both a shield and a complication. Emily felt her plan forming into a web designed to ensnare Claire, without leaving a trace of her involvement. The meticulousness of her preparation made her feel powerful in a world that had momentarily disempowered her. Later that evening, Jenna, Emily's loyal sidekick, stopped by. She hesitated at the door, concern etched on her face. "Are you sure about this?" she asked softly. Emily met her gaze, a steely determination in her eyes. "I have to," Emily replied. Together, they would navigate the dangerous path ahead. Jenna's loyalty would be invaluable, but Emily knew that even friends could falter under pressure. This was no longer just personal. It was a test of trust, strategy, and resolve. The night closed in, city lights casting shadows through the windows as their silent pact solidified. Emily and Jenna met at a quiet park, shaded by towering oak trees. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of autumn leaves. "We need a solid plan," Emily said, scanning the park for privacy. Jenna nodded, pulling a notebook from her bag. Emily explained every detail she remembered from the cafe, emphasizing Claire's patterns and Daniel's oblivion. Every gesture, every laugh, became a piece of a puzzle. Jenna scribbled notes furiously, occasionally glancing at Emily's determined face. They mapped out scenarios, analyzing weaknesses, anticipating moves. The stakes were higher than ever. Misstep could expose them, ruin Emily, and give Claire an advantage. By the time they left the park, a precise blueprint had formed, a careful, calculated approach to reclaiming what was lost and ensuring Claire's betrayal would not go unpunished. Back at Emily's apartment, they transformed the living room into a war room. Photos of Claire and Daniel adorned the walls, linked by strings of red yarn. "Every move must be precise," Emily said, her voice sharp yet controlled. Jenna nodded, tracing paths between notes. The room smelled faintly of coffee and paper as they plotted Claire's routines, her favorite spots, her patterns with Daniel. Emily felt a mixture of exhilaration and dread. Every detail mattered. One miscalculation could ruin months of planning. They rehearsed potential scenarios, discussed contingencies, and visualized outcomes. By nightfall, the apartment was littered with notebooks, photos, and maps, a tangible manifestation of Emily's meticulous determination. In that chaos, she felt power returning, a controlled force ready to strike with precision. Emily watched Claire and Daniel from a distance at a busy downtown cafe. She remained hidden behind a corner, observing their gestures and interactions. Claire laughed too easily, resting her hand on Daniel's arm. Emily catalogued every expression, every tilt of the head, committing patterns to memory. Her pulse quickened, not from fear, but anticipation. Jenna stayed nearby, documenting movements with a discreet camera. "We know their routine now," Emily whispered, eyes cold but calculating. Each day of observation built a clearer map of vulnerabilities. Emily realized patience was as essential as cunning. Striking too soon could undo all preparation. With every passing hour, her resolve hardened, and the plan's threads intertwined more tightly, drawing Claire unknowingly toward the trap. Emily and Jenna met in a dimly lit parking garage to exchange intel. Shadows stretched across concrete walls as cars idled nearby. "Tonight we move one step closer," Emily said, her voice a controlled whisper. Jenna handed over digital files, showing Claire's schedule and contacts. Every piece of information strengthened their strategy, revealing vulnerabilities that could be exploited. Emily's mind raced, calculating probabilities and contingencies, planning how to manipulate events without exposing themselves. Adrenaline surged, yet she remained calm, every movement deliberate. Tonight marked the transition from observation to action. The risk was higher, but so was the potential payoff. Emily knew patience and precision would decide whether this night was a victory or a disaster. At home, Emily reviewed every detail of the day. The files, notes, and observations all pointed to Claire's weaknesses. Her plan was unfolding, and she could feel momentum shifting. Jenna stayed nearby, offering advice and cautioning about potential missteps. Emily listened, but allowed her instincts to dominate. Every calculated move, every minor adjustment, increased the pressure on Claire without her knowledge. The anticipation was intoxicating. Emily's mind danced between strategy and imagination, envisioning the eventual confrontation. She knew patience would be key, and the next steps had to be flawless. Tomorrow, the next phase would begin. Emily's quiet apartment now hummed with the tension of an imminent storm, a prelude to the reckoning she had meticulously orchestrated. Night had fallen over the city, streets glistening with rain and neon reflections. Emily crouched in the shadows, watching Claire leave a late dinner with Daniel. Every detail from previous surveillance flashed in her mind. She adjusted her coat, checking her phone for Jenna's confirmation signal. "Everything aligns," she whispered. Each footstep Claire took seemed amplified in Emily's ears. Her heartbeat was steady, controlled. Adrenaline sharpened her focus. The plan had been tested in countless rehearsals, each contingency accounted for. Emily felt the tension of anticipation coiling like a spring inside her. Tonight, observation ended, and action began. Every calculated step brought her closer to the confrontation she had meticulously orchestrated for months. Emily moved silently along the alley, keeping pace with Claire without being seen. Jenna's voice whispered in her earpiece, guiding her through blind spots and alternate paths. Emily's eyes scanned every corner, anticipating obstacles. The plan demanded precise timing. Every shadow became a potential threat, every passerby a distraction. Emily controlled her breathing, her steps measured and deliberate. She rehearsed the words she would say in the confrontation, though no rehearsal could match the thrill of the real moment. Rain-slicked asphalt reflected the glow of streetlights, creating illusions and patterns. The city itself seemed to hold its breath. Tonight, the culmination of weeks of preparation hung in the balance, and Emily's calculated patience would either triumph or fail. At the park entrance, Emily saw her chance. Claire paused to check her phone, unaware of the figure in the shadows. Emily stepped forward, calm but authoritative. "Claire," she called softly, voice carrying yet restrained. Claire froze, her confident mask faltering. Daniel turned, confused and alert. Emily advanced with measured steps, Jenna remaining hidden, documenting every moment. The months of planning converged in this instant. Every observation, every note, every scenario played out in real time. Emily's mind raced, calculating reactions and adjusting tactics on the fly. Claire's expression shifted from surprise to unease. Control had shifted. Emily had drawn the strings. The confrontation had begun, precise, deliberate, and inevitable. Emily spoke firmly, words measured yet cutting. "I know what you've done, Claire," she said, her gaze unflinching. Claire's lips trembled, eyes darting between Emily and Daniel. The rain continued to drizzle, droplets sliding down the park lights, reflecting off the tense faces. Daniel's confusion grew, sensing the gravity of the moment. Emily's presence dominated the space. Her preparation and patience radiated control. Jenna's discreet recording caught every reaction, a silent witness. Emily's mind analyzed micro-expressions, predicting defensive moves. Each word, each pause, was calculated to create unease and assert authority. Claire realized the situation had shifted, and Emily had orchestrated the exposure perfectly, leaving no room for denial or escape. Claire's defenses crumbled as Emily revealed the evidence and insights gathered over weeks. Daniel's confusion turned to realization. He observed the subtle cues he had missed. Emily's calm demeanor contrasted with the storm of emotions unraveling before her. Jenna emerged from hiding, ensuring proof of the confrontation was secure. Rain-slicked streets reflected the aftermath of confrontation, yet Emily's focus remained unwavering. She spoke one final time, measured and resolute, leaving no doubt about consequences. Claire's gaze faltered, acceptance and fear mingling. Emily's meticulous plan had succeeded. Months of observation, patience, and strategic thinking culminated in control regained and justice orchestrated. The storm outside mirrored the storm of resolution within. A night of reckoning now complete. Morning light filtered through the curtains of Emily's apartment, soft and golden. She sat by the window, sipping coffee, replaying last night's events in her mind. The city outside was waking, oblivious to the storm of the previous night. Jenna's call had confirmed Claire had admitted her actions to Daniel. Emily felt a quiet satisfaction, but also a lingering tension in her shoulders. Months of preparation and confrontation had culminated successfully, yet she knew vigilance was still necessary. Her apartment smelled of fresh coffee and rain-soaked streets. Emily glanced at her notes, mentally reviewing lessons learned and potential future threats. She allowed herself a brief smile. Control had been regained, but the city's unpredictability reminded her that peace was temporary, fragile, and earned. Later, Emily met Jenna at a quiet cafe, the aroma of espresso blending with early chatter. They shared a smile of relief, knowing the evidence had been secured. Conversation flowed easily, but both were aware of the tension that had preceded this calm. Emily recounted her observations, noting details Jenna had missed. Jenna listened intently, impressed by the precision of Emily's planning. Outside, sunlight reflected on wet streets from last night's rain, mirroring their lingering vigilance. Emily's satisfaction was tempered with awareness. Every action had consequences, and the city's hidden complexities never fully disappeared. They discussed future strategies cautiously, laughter and quiet reflection alternating. The storm had passed, but lessons lingered, shaping the friends' understanding of control, trust, and vigilance. By afternoon, Emily walked through the city park alone, letting thoughts wander. Birds chirped, leaves rustled, and the air carried a fresh rain scent. She reflected on the choices made, the ethics of her surveillance, and the necessity of confrontation. Each step was deliberate, grounding her in reality. Emily noticed subtle details: a child chasing a dog, pigeons taking flight, the ordinary resilience of life continuing despite human drama. The confrontation with Claire had left an imprint, shaping Emily's understanding of morality, patience, and consequences. She paused at a fountain, watching ripples distort reflections, a metaphor for the disturbance she had navigated. Her mind balanced relief with vigilance, appreciating the calm while anticipating challenges yet to come. As evening approached, Emily returned to her apartment, now quiet and dimly lit. She organized her notes and evidence, ensuring everything was archived meticulously. The weight of responsibility settled on her shoulders, but she welcomed it as affirmation of control regained. Outside, city lights blinked, painting reflections on wet streets, a reminder of the complexity beyond her walls. Emily paused to gaze at the skyline, contemplating the balance between vigilance and peace. The confrontation had tested patience, strategy, and moral judgment. She knew this calm might be fleeting, but for tonight, it was enough. Emily allowed herself a slow exhale, a small victory in the ongoing rhythm of preparation, observation, and action in the city she navigated with precision. Night fully descended, and Emily stood at her balcony, observing the city below. Rain had returned, lightly misting the streets and neon signs glowing in puddles. She reflected on Claire's confession, Daniel's awareness, and Jenna's assistance. The city remained unpredictable, yet she felt preparedness in her heart. Lessons had been learned, risks managed, and control reclaimed. Emily's gaze traced the skyline, a silent promise to herself to remain vigilant, patient, and strategic. The storm of human emotions had subsided, leaving clarity and focus. Tonight marked an ending, but also the constant readiness demanded by life's uncertainty. Emily inhaled the cool air, feeling both relief and determination. The city breathed around her, a living reflection of vigilance and resilience. The morning sun broke through clouds over the city, casting long golden rays on streets glistening from overnight rain. Emily walked along the rooftop of her building, feeling the wind tug at her hair and coat. She reflected on the past months, the confrontations, and the strategies that had brought clarity. Each step echoed confidence, each breath carried relief. She thought of Jenna, Daniel, and even Claire, realizing every choice had shaped the present. There was a sense of finality, a chapter closing, yet Emily knew vigilance was a lifelong rhythm. The city below seemed quieter, almost in tune with her own calm, as if offering permission to pause, breathe, and acknowledge the hard-won peace. Her heart felt steady, her mind clear, and for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself a deep, uninterrupted smile. Later, Emily met Daniel at a small park near the river, their meeting calm yet filled with unspoken acknowledgement. Daniel's expression carried relief and cautious optimism. Emily recounted the closure with Claire, explaining the steps taken to ensure integrity and safety. Daniel listened, nodding, silently recognizing her persistence and intelligence. They walked slowly along the paved path, fallen leaves crunching beneath their feet. Conversations shifted naturally from tension to lighter matters, as the city reflected serenity in soft rippling water and distant bird song. The partnership they shared felt solidified, forged through strategy, patience, and trust. In this moment, Emily realized the resolution wasn't just external, it was internal, a balance restored, a purpose reaffirmed. By late afternoon, Emily returned to her apartment, the space now radiating calm. She reviewed her notes, her mind tracing every decision made, understanding each lesson learned. Outside, the city hummed in steady rhythm, indifferent yet comforting. She allowed herself a small ritual of reflection, lighting a candle on the windowsill, its flame flickering gently. Each flame mirrored a thought, a memory, a moment of growth. Emily realized that control wasn't about dominance, but understanding, adaptation, and careful observation. Her confidence was quiet, grounded in reason rather than triumph. The skyline beyond her window shimmered with the glow of a city alive yet ordered, a perfect metaphor for her journey. Chaotic, challenging, yet ultimately navigable. Evening descended, and Emily stood on her balcony, gazing at the city lights reflecting off wet streets. The rain had stopped, leaving air crisp and clean. She felt a sense of completion, the tension of prior days fading into calm. Jenna joined her, offering a smile of camaraderie and unspoken congratulations. The friends stood side by side, letting the city's rhythm soothe their lingering vigilance. Conversation drifted, laughter punctuating quiet moments. Emily acknowledged the journey, challenges faced, lessons learned, trust forged, and personal growth achieved. Tonight, the city was not a battlefield, but a witness to resilience, intelligence, and careful navigation. She allowed herself to fully enjoy this calm, a rare gift earned through persistence. Night fully settled over the city, stars faintly visible beyond the urban glow. Emily stood alone briefly, taking in the stillness, feeling a rare completeness. The past conflicts, confrontations, and careful maneuvers had brought resolution, leaving clarity and wisdom. She recognized the balance between action and patience, vigilance and peace. The city's hum was now a background melody, steady and reassuring. Emily smiled softly, aware of her growth, her strengthened resilience, and the trust she had earned from those around her. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight marked closure. She turned from the balcony, stepping inside with calm confidence, ready to continue navigating life with awareness, purpose, and serenity. The morning was crisp, the city bathed in pale sunlight after a foggy dawn. Emily walked along the quiet streets, coffee in hand, reflecting on the journey she had undertaken. Each corner of the city carried a memory, some triumphant, some painful. She thought of Daniel, Jenna, and the challenges they had overcome together. Emily realized growth came not from avoiding conflict, but from navigating it thoughtfully. She paused to watch the sunlight break through the fog, feeling a rare serenity. The streets seemed almost empty, the world waiting for her next decision. In this stillness, Emily understood that every ending is also a beginning. Her mind felt lighter, her heart steadier, and a small, confident smile formed as she embraced the day. At a small riverside cafe, Emily met Jenna for a late breakfast. Jenna's energy was bright, infectious, and she laughed easily at Emily's dry humor. They discussed future plans, career changes, and personal growth, realizing the weight of past trials had forged stronger bonds. Daniel arrived shortly, his presence steady, calm, a reassuring contrast to the morning's uncertainty. Over cups of steaming coffee, the trio shared reflections, their conversation a mixture of introspection and light-hearted banter. Emily appreciated these moments of ordinary connection, recognizing them as rare treasures after months of tension. The river outside glimmered in morning light, mirroring the subtle joy of resilience, and Emily felt the first true sense of equilibrium in her life. By afternoon, Emily returned to the rooftop, a notebook in hand, writing reflections and plans. The wind teased loose strands of hair as she scribbled ideas for projects, personal goals, and future collaborations. Thoughts of past victories and mistakes mingled freely, yet the weight felt lighter now. She felt gratitude for those who supported her, and lessons for those who challenged her. The skyline stretched endlessly, a mix of old and modern architecture, and Emily felt the city was no longer intimidating but alive with possibility. Every step, every decision had contributed to this sense of preparedness and clarity. She paused, closed her eyes, and inhaled deeply, absorbing the rhythm of the city and the quiet satisfaction of progress. Evening settled with a soft amber glow, and Emily found herself at a small city park, walking along a winding path surrounded by trees beginning to shed their leaves. The air carried the scent of autumn, crisp and refreshing. Daniel joined her, walking side by side, their conversation quiet and unforced. They spoke of dreams, ambitions, and the balance between professional life and personal fulfillment. The rustling leaves and distant sounds of the city created a gentle soundtrack. Emily realized that the hardest trials had built resilience, and the simplest moments now carried profound meaning. A sense of peace enveloped her, the quiet understanding that life's complexity also brought opportunity and joy. Night fell fully over the city, and Emily stood on her apartment balcony, gazing at the glittering skyline. Stars peeked faintly through the urban haze. She reflected on how far she had come, from uncertainty, conflict, and constant pressure, to a place of measured confidence and introspection. Jenna and Daniel had become anchors, not just companions, but mirrors reflecting her own growth. Emily realized that life's journey was not a single story, but a continuous series of challenges, reflections, and evolutions. The city below pulsed with energy, and she felt herself in sync, balanced and prepared. With a final deep breath, she smiled, ready to face tomorrow with curiosity, courage, and calm resolve. The city awoke to a hazy morning, the skyline blurred by soft mist. Emily wandered through the bustling streets, notebook in hand, observing people and the subtle rhythms of life. She noticed how everyone moved with purpose, yet carried unseen burdens. A memory of past struggles surfaced, yet she smiled, recognizing her own resilience. Thoughts of Daniel and Jenna strengthened her resolve to face upcoming challenges with calm focus. The sunlight peeked through clouds, illuminating tiny details of the streets, puddles, bricks, and shop signs reflecting golden warmth. Emily realized clarity often arrives after patience and quiet observation. Dawan. Every choice seemed sharper now, more deliberate, as if the city itself had aligned with her intention. The morning offered a sense of readiness, as if life was inviting her into the next chapter of meaningful action. By late morning, Emily arrived at a community center where she had volunteered years ago. The familiar scent of polished wood and warm tea greeted her, stirring a wave of nostalgia. Children played in bright, echoing rooms, their laughter infectious. Emily interacted with them, offering small guidance and encouragement, and felt a profound sense of purpose return. Jenna appeared, holding a stack of books, smiling as she joined Emily in playful mentoring. Daniel watched from a distance, quietly appreciating the moment. The trio shared unspoken understanding. Growth and fulfillment were found in service, patience, and empathy. Emily realized the small acts of kindness and attention created ripples far beyond immediate visibility. It was a reminder that meaningful change often started with simple presence. Afternoon brought Emily to a quiet lakeside path, the water reflecting clouds like a silver mirror. She jogged lightly, inhaling the crisp air, letting movement free her thoughts. Memories of past hardships surfaced but no longer weighed heavily. Each breath reinforced her sense of self, grounded in both experience and reflection. Daniel joined mid-pace, and they ran together, speaking in brief, thoughtful sentences. Emily felt how shared effort, even in silence, strengthened bonds. The subtle breeze carried the scent of pine and water, invigorating yet calming. She realized transformation is both internal and external, shaped by activity, reflection, and connection. Their steps created rhythmic harmony with the gentle waves lapping at the shore, each moment a small triumph of persistence and clarity. As evening approached, Emily returned home to her apartment, the skyline painted in golden orange hues. She opened her laptop and began drafting ideas for a new project, a combination of creativity, mentorship, and community engagement. Jenna joined, bringing tea and snacks, sitting cross-legged on the floor while they brainstormed. Daniel contributed quietly, offering practical suggestions and moral support. Each idea, each laugh, and each note felt like a step toward a shared vision. Emily understood that true leadership and purpose were collaborative, nurtured in trust and dialogue. The apartment was filled with warm light and quiet energy, a cocoon of creativity and hope. Emily's reflection on the day's event cemented the feeling that challenges were now tools, not obstacles. Night settled with a quiet calm over the city, the skyline glittering under stars and distant lights. Emily stepped onto her balcony, breathing deeply, a sense of accomplishment washing over her. The journey had been long, filled with trials, discoveries, and moments of clarity. Jenna waved from inside the apartment, and Daniel's calm silhouette appeared in the doorway. Emily realized the threads of past struggles, present effort, and future possibilities wove a coherent story of growth. She embraced the night, feeling aligned with herself and the world around her. Every challenge, reflection, and connection had led to a profound understanding. Life's journey was not just survival, but intentional creation. Emily smiled, knowing tomorrow would bring new stories, new challenges, and new joys, ready for each with curiosity and courage.